Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. We are here with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joe Perrone. We are here to talk about time management, productivity, time freedom. Joe is a strategist, and he helps business owners just like you reclaim their time freedom. And Joe believes that your business should run itself and it should not run you into the ground. And Joe has been helping his clients find full enjoyment into everything that they create and do it without burning out. So, Joe, glad to be talking to you.
Oh, Robert, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you, and I can already tell we're going to have some fun. I don't know what age I turned when I suddenly realized that I need to enjoy the things I put in my schedule. That even though I might put something in my calendar a week ahead of time, 2 weeks ahead of time, and then the weeks pass and that meeting rolls around and I have the hesitation beforehand, right? And I think, should I really go to this meeting? Should I really get in the car and go to this important obligation I have to do? And I tell myself that there was a time 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks or whenever I set the appointment when I was excited to do it, and I should not be talking myself out of it now. And I feel like it's been a slow progress, but now my goal is to kind of think of it like a light switch and say, I want to get excited. I want to get focused. I want to jump into this meeting that I'm jumping into. And I think we all want to tap into that. So that's kind of a quick, I don't know, just jumping off point. And what do you think about that? Or what do you think is your secret to doing those things that you know you should do and you want to do, but there's a little hesitation when you say, should I really go ahead with this? But then once you do, then it's completely fine. So like, what are your thoughts on that whole mess?
Great question, Robert. Great question to lead it off. And, I first of all, I honor you for what you do for entrepreneurs and getting this word out there and spreading this message that there are other options. There's choice, there's freedom, and owning a business can be one of the best things that you'll ever do. And all too often you hear about, horror stories about business owners who are just running themselves ragged and overcommitting. And it's just, for me to hear that makes me want to help people even more. And discussions like this is where it starts. So your question was, you make that appointment, and then 2 weeks later, that appointment rolls up on your calendar. You're like, oh God, what am I going to do? And, the thing that I found that works easy, it's not like simple things. It's just simple, easy to remember, is when it goes back to when we first started our business, right? That first day, you got your first client, you're so excited about it. There was a reason why you got into that business. And if you got into it for the wrong reasons, just like if you make those appointments for the wrong reasons, you're going to regret it later on. So what I like to do, and this wasn't always like this, this was, years of self-work and doing this work, and I had to stop overcommitting. And what I did do was I got really clear and focused on, what do I want the outcome of this meeting to be? When I jump on with Robert and listen to his podcast or interview for his podcast, what do I want to have happen next? Right? We want people to listen to this. We want people to be uplifted. We want people to go to your website, to go to my website. We want people to engage with us and learn more and ask more questions of us. So if I'm on an interview today with you, and, in the future, you get this thing out in the air, and somebody reaches out to either one of us and says, hey, I'd like some more information about that guy, Joe, you had, or hey, I heard that podcast you were on, I'd like to learn more. And we're like, oh man, I'm just too busy for that. Well, what did we set out to do in the first place, Robert? That was our outcome that we desired. So what I like to tell my clients, and what I like to tell anyone that listen, is know why you're getting involved. Know the reasons behind why you're doing the thing that you're doing. Why are you committing to this meeting? Why are you committing to this obligation? And you're going to obligate yourself to do this. And the day's going to come when that thing's going to come up on the calendar. And remember the reason why you commit. If you're at a party and somebody's like, hey, I want to get together next Tuesday, and you're like, just off the handle, you're like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then that thing rolls around. You're like, I don't want to meet with this person. It's terrible interaction. What I like to do is say, hey, you know what? I'll be in my office on Monday, and let's get something on the calendar. Don't commit to something right in the moment. It's like buyer's remorse, right? You sign up for that. You sign up for that package. You sign up for that thing. you wake up the next morning, you're like, why the heck did I do that? So just like we would, wait and have some delayed gratification on a purchase, let's have some little delayed gratification on what we're committing to. And that's one of the things that I like to do. And just like you wouldn't run up to your doctor if you see him in the grocery store and say, hey doc, my arm's kind of hurting and wondering if you could take a look at for me. He's going to say, hey, call my office Monday. We'll get you in an appointment and we'll see if we can't check that arm out for you. Right? You're going to make an appointment. And when you treat yourself as your time as the most valuable asset that you have, because it is, time is the most valuable asset that you have in your life, everything and everybody will conform to that way and say, man, Robert really respects his time. Joe really respects his time. I'm not going to bother him with that little thing that doesn't need to be bothered with. I'm going to come to him with some real information, some things that I need help on. I'm going to schedule some time with them. And when they're serious about it, they're going to honor that. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, you answered it with like 6 different good things. I'm trying to keep it all straight. So you mentioned that about this whole self-work thing, that if you have the bad attitude or the bad strategy or no strategy, this change won't happen overnight. But that the thing that we need to be maybe perking up about or making more of an effort on is when we make these meetings of any kind, know what the outcome is, know what the positive type of goal is. That way you're not just filling your calendar just for the heck of it. You say that, well, I need to meet this quota for a number of meetings, or I want to get this relationship established, or I want to get this contract figured out. Know what the outcome ahead of time. That way you're not just wasting your time and what you're doing. You mentioned in there that some of these activities are delayed gratification. And I know that you do a lot of work with brick and mortar and consulting like that. And one area where I'm not that dialed into, because I'm not into a lot of the brick and mortar stuff, is this whole idea of like calculating with every customer or every appointment I have, what's the dollar value, even though it might be a delayed gratification later, right? You have that doctor where someone comes in and looks at the arm or looks at the problem there. Well, that doctor might have some calculation to figure out that, well, here is the amount of money this practice makes in a year divided by here's the number of patients we see per day. And then even though there's expenses and all those other things, but in the case of a simplicity, you say, well, someone walks in the door and I know I'm making $200. I know I'm making $600 from that customer walking into, and it's not all about money, but you can at least say, well, I know my numbers, I know my metrics, and I get some kind of a reward, at least a mental reward in my head of when a patient comes in or I'm doing a podcast interview, I know that on average, it will equal this amount of money, this amount of traffic. So this way I know the outcome, and that way I know I'm not wasting my time. I'm not spinning my wheels. I'm not doing all those average things where I just let my calendar fill up with a lot of useful stuff that is not serving me. So this is great off the bat for us to already think about. And you and I kind of have like these long answers, right? We ask a question and then it's like 5 minutes later, we're off to the next thing. So I want to make sure we have some really good questions here. And so one thing that I want to make sure we touch on is, so you do, you help these businesses. So can you tell us about these businesses that you help and what you do to clean up their time management, clean up their productivity? Because it's easy to talk all in abstract and generalities, but what is the Joe Perrone magic sauce that happens here?
Well, first of all, Robert, it's about slowing down. It's about slowing down and kind of doing an assessment of where you are right now. Are you doing all the things you want to be doing? What's life look like right now? When you sit down and you say, okay, I'm not getting to this, I'm not getting to that, whatever you're not getting to, whatever that thing is you're not doing. Are sales good? Is your outreach good? Are you doing some marketing? Are you doing some networking? Is your revenue coming in? Like, we look at the pieces. Where does this all fit together? Right. I know for me personally, one of the things that I was slacking on was networking. I didn't really do a lot of networking outside of my 4 walls of my business. And I didn't have the time. I didn't have the time to do it. And that's what a lot of people I hear and a lot of clients say is, I don't have time to go to this networking meeting. I don't have time to take these calls and meet with all these different members in our local networking groups, right? And I say, Well, what are you doing in place of that time? What are you doing on a Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock? Yeah, well, I have my morning meeting. I have this. I have that. Okay, well, let's slow down. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's examine this meeting. What is this meeting that you're doing at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday? Oh, well, this is a catch up with my team. And then, okay, well, how many of these meetings do you have per week? Oh, I have 3 of these meetings per week. Okay, can we get it down to 2? Does it need? Well, we've always had it 3 meeting. Again, can we get it down to 2? And just Robert, it's drilling down and finding where are those limiting beliefs, where are those stories that you've told yourself over and over and over that you need to do or you have to do, and it's sucking up so much of your time. And I see business owners all the time where they're just running ragged and they're like, I just have no time to do anything. And it's when we slow down, we getting clear on what it is that you do want. We know what you don't want. Okay, fine. What is it that you do want? And when we can get these business owners to clarify what it is exactly that they want to have happen. For me, it was spending less time working in my business and working more on my business, more time networking, more time focusing on systems and processes and training my employees. Working outside of my 4 walls with other business owners, getting leads and getting referrals from them and meeting with them. That was something that was very important to me. I'm working with a business owner right now doing the same thing. He's like, I want to work more on my business. I'm in my business too much. He's like, this business should run without me. Okay, well, when's the last time you took a day off? I haven't taken a day off in 6 months. Well, why don't you take a day off? What's going to happen? Wheels aren't going to fall off. And he said, well, this is going to happen. Okay, let's start writing this stuff down. Tell me, let's list everything that you're afraid of that's going to go wrong when you're not there. One of them was I got a needy client, and this needy client is going to just, if I'm not there, we could potentially lose this client. Is that true? I asked them, is that true? Well, they're just needy, and they call my cell phone, and they're just on my phone all the time. Okay, how about we do this? Call the client, tell them you're going to be off tomorrow. Just say, hey, I'm just no access to my phone. I'm going to be off tomorrow. Call them up and says, oh yeah, hey, enjoy your day. Enjoy your day. Guy's like, okay, well, that myth's busted. Let's keep going down all the other worries. List out all those things that you think will potentially happen if you take a day off or you leave early one day as a business owner, right? And we start attacking those problems one by one. Most of them are worries that are never going to come true anyways, Robert. And so it's just going down that system and just drilling down on all those previously held beliefs that we're able to just break them free of. And that's freedom, man. That's choice. That's options. That's a business that you can sell. Nobody wants to buy a business that the business is you. It's not worth anything. They want a business that they could run with you, without you, turnkey. They want it. They're not going to buy something that you're there 60 hours a week. Who the hell wants to buy that? They're buying a job.
And so it seems like a lot of this is you're almost like playing therapist, right? And you're saying, well, what are the limiting beliefs? What stories are you telling yourself? And then what evidence are you assuming to keep those limiting beliefs to keep you where you're at with those bad beliefs, and then maybe breaking those down and saying, well, what about these little strategies, or what about these solutions to try to chip away at this, or this thing that you have been telling yourself for all these years, is it really true? And I mean, you're making me think of, like, I had this friend once, and he couldn't come to this recurring meeting, and I said, well, why can't you come to it? And he said, oh, well, I come home and I pet the dog and I feed the dog and I let the dog out, and I'm like, none of the things that you said are logic. There are no reasons. There is no real answer for why you can't make this meeting. You just kind of get off on this story that you tell yourself. And you're reminding me of something that I didn't even have an aha until I was driving back from the dentist this morning, and I was thinking, back in school, right? You learn all these bad habits in school that you have to unlearn later in life. And in school, it used to be like, if you were late on an assignment or you would not get something done, it was probably in your best interest to hide, right? It was probably in your best interest to fudge the paper and turn it in later and say, oh, teacher, I promise I turned it in before I actually did turn it in. And in the real world, it seems like when you have these clients or you have these deadlines or these people that you're communicating with, and you need to take that day off that you mentioned, or you're a few days late, or this will take you another week to get it done than you thought it would, it's okay to get ahead of the problem and say ahead of time, hey, I know that we had this deadline, but is it okay if it comes in not just late and ambiguous, but is it okay if it comes in on a Tuesday instead of a Friday? Or just giving you an update, it's halfway done. And like, those are things that you wouldn't even think about doing in middle school or high school, but as an adult, as a grown-up, these are some of the things that we should be tackling. And it seems like from what you also told me so far is how important it is to get these things written down, to get these goals written down, to get these problems written down, all these woulda, shouldas that I should be doing more networking, or I need to be, figuring out these SOPs, these checklists. That way I'm not part of it. Even though it might be scary or kind of uncomfortable, awkward, maybe that's even more reason why it should be written down, because you've been avoiding it all this time, right?
I agree with you, Robert. And one of the most amazing things that I learned going through burnout and going through a time where I, was so lost in business and lost who I was. And it goes back to, the first day you open your business, right? You're so excited, you got that first client, now you're in business and all that good stuff, right? What was the most important thing was to remind myself why I was in business. And if you're not in business to serve other people and improve their lives, make their lives better with something that you're really good at, right? This is something that people have complimented you on. This is not just something you're doing for the money. Hey, I found the best, this makes 6 figures and I'm going to do this because I heard this makes a lot of money. If you're in business and you're doing it for the money, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to get burned out. When you're doing something that because you love to do it and you're serving people in the best way possible. And I'm not saying people pleasing. I'm saying service to others. Sometimes service is saying, no, I can't take that this week. No, we're not a good fit to work together. That's some of the best service that you could do. And that's why networking, I love networking with other coaches, other strategists, other consultants, because not everybody that comes in is a good fit for me. I'd rather say, hey, Robert, we're not a good fit to work together, but here, I know this other guy that is. I know this other girl that is. And that's service. It's not just taking everything as it comes and people pleasing and being everything to everyone, because we're going to let everybody down. We are going to miss that deadline. Things are going to happen. And you and I might handle it differently. And that person might like your approach better than my approach. It's just human nature. We're all different. So I think that's when we're in business to serve other people and truly serve, not people please. That's when the best outcomes happen. And that's when we're able to just have those head-on conversations to say, hey, listen, Robert, when we first talked about this project, it was going to run 3 months, and we're at 2 months, and I just don't see it being 3 months. I see it, stretching on. Are you comfortable with this? And you might say, Joe, I've thrown it back, and I'm not, not really comfortable with it. What are my other options? In service to you, I might show you the other options. You might just say, hey, you know what, Joe, I trust you. The 2 months you've been working for me, you haven't steered me wrong, and let's just keep going. And I trust your judgment. That's best case scenario. And honestly, that's what usually happens when we have the right clients and we're attracting our ideal clients. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and to keep your answer in my head, I'm thinking in terms of like the past, the present, and the future, right? And so what you just said here, the past is, why did you get started? And that's an interesting idea to revisit, especially if all the years have passed and all the day to day, and like your client that hasn't taken a day off in 6 months, or maybe we're old and tired, and you think back to that first day of business and that first customer and the magical times. And I think that's really important to kind of daydream back to that initial moment, because there was a time when it was magical, and it can be that way again, and it should be that way again. And it should even be more magical than it was than you started. So if you've lost that feeling, maybe it's helpful to revisit that. So that's kind of the past aspect. And then the present aspect, you're saying how important it is to actually enjoy what you do and not just be in it for the money, and not just people please, but also serve and be in it where the money's nice. The money keeps your business sustained and going and in business and growing in addition, but to keep things consistent and to power through during those difficult months or years or days. We need to have that passion. We need to have that skill that people say, man, you're so good at that. I need your help to fix my arm or repair my car or fix my tire or do my accounting, whatever it is. We need to have that really good skill that others like, that we also enjoy. And then the future aspect of your answer that I filed away in my brain is this whole networking aspect where everyone has the right fit for someone else. And we're so fortunate now to have the internet and to not just be stuck, as you said earlier, in the four walls of the people that you just kind of find you, right? And again, thinking back to middle school, high school, you get stuck in your own little circle of friends, right? You get stuck with the same kids that are your age, that go to the same school as you, that are in the same classes. And maybe there's like the group of like the nerds or the jocks, but you just get stuck in just the same old 5 or 10 people. And they keep you trapped where you are, and you kind of have the same thoughts and the same conversations and the same ideas, and you're limited with these bad stories and these bad limiting beliefs that you tell yourself. But in this day and age where things are so niched down, and if you do a Google search, LinkedIn search, Facebook search for just this exact business in my exact town or 2 towns over giving this exact service, then now we can find these really specific right fits. And as you said, also, if you're not quite the right fit or it's not a good personality match or time commitment or whatever, by doing this networking ahead of time before you need it, now there can even be a happy ending where you say, well, my serving you does not necessarily mean continuing with you. Here's this really good connection. Here's this better fit. So this is all like really cool stuff for us to think about. And so if someone out there in podcast land says, man, a lot of this makes sense, and a lot of what I'm doing maybe is not working or needs to change, or I need to think about this differently, where do you come in? If some business owner says, I'm so stressed out and I want to get the benefits of some of these things that Joe has explained, what's the next step here, and what do you do specifically to help these businesses?
Well, the next step, Robert, is a conversation. Reach out. Let's have a conversation. There's no ties that bind when we have a conversation. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know your business. I want to get to know what the challenges you face are. I had a guy that called me up, and he was so worried about his business and just getting out there, and very, very timid about networking and meeting other people and working on his business. He's like, if I leave my business, the thing's going to crumble. And he was just like, you could hear the shakiness in his voice. And we literally just had a 1-hour conversation. I never signed him up for anything. And he left that conversation and he followed up with me about 6 months ago. And he said, Joe, that hour changed my life. And, I was so honored that I was able to serve him and help him, because I thought about his employees. We had a deep conversation about, he had some key employees that he wanted to promote, and he was a little bit hesitant about doing that. Well, he promoted these employees and made their lives better, and that made their families' lives better. And opportunity was created in a 1-hour conversation. So magic can happen in a 1-hour conversation. Nothing is you got to sign on the dotted line as soon as we talk. I just love meeting business owners that, they want to see another option on the menu. They don't want just the cookie cutter, read the book, go to the self-help course, go to the seminar. They're looking for somebody that's actually been through it and is been in the trenches, has seen both sides of it, working on it, working in it, and, has found the freedom that I've found. And I love sharing that. And I love listening to what others have to say about their challenges and the things they're facing on a daily basis.
Well, I love hearing about your enthusiasm, and it definitely makes a lot of sense that there can be a fresh perspective. There can be that new item on the menu, and it might even be something that you heard way long ago, but you disregarded, or it wasn't quite presented to you in just this exact solution. And we've all dealt with that in many different cases. Like maybe you're hanging like a picture on the wall, and you say, I don't quite know if it's just the way it should be. And then you call in the wife or the son or the daughter into the room, and you say, can you look at this from fresh eyes? And like they give you just an easy answer, and you could have been staring at that for hours, days on end, but just in 2 seconds, because you had that set of fresh eyes, you knew exactly what to do instead. And so this whole nut that needs to be cracked for many people of working on your business instead of in your business, and all the scary details that go along with that, there needs to be a conversation. And it can be scary to do it alone, and it can be, I mean, it's kind of doesn't really work to try to talk about it with someone who's like your employee or a subordinate or someone who's not in your business. But as Joe said, you've been in the trenches, you've dealt with these problems, and so Joe is exactly the right person to have these. Maybe it would be a difficult conversation to have, but Joe makes it easy. And so if someone wants to get this conversation here happening, Joe, where is the website? Where's the social media? How do they find you? How do they reach out?
Easiest way is joe@joeperrone.biz. That's my email. joeperrone.biz is the website. And check me out. I'm on YouTube. Recorded a ton of podcasts, episodes, and have a podcast called The Freedom Hour. We're in our 13th episode. So would love to have you on one of these days, Robert, when we get back to recording. And, if I resonate, what I have to say resonates with you, I'd love to talk to you.
Well, fantastic. And just to spell that out, because you don't know if someone's watching or listening, that is Joe, Joe. Last name is Perrone, Perrone. That's joeperrone.biz. And Joe even dropped his exact email address. That's joe@joeperrone.biz. So do all of the above. Go to the website, add Joe on LinkedIn, and send the email. That way you can be tapped into all the possible avenues of communication. And check out that Freedom Hour podcast, because there's no shortage of negativity out there, right? Someone cuts you off in traffic, or you turn on the news, you see something scary happening overseas. But what you need to consciously be looking into are solutions, is positivity, is optimism, is getting yourself to where you need to go. And Joe is someone that you need to have in your circle, and someone that you need to be listening to. So joeperrone.biz and the Freedom Hour, go there now, even before this call is done. Type in your browser or your phone, joeperrone.biz. That way the tab will be open, and that way you won't lose your place. joeperrone.biz is the place to go. And as we wrap up this call here, Joe, do you have any final parting words of advice? Anything to just cap it all off for us?
Robert, first of all, thank you. What you do for entrepreneurs, getting the message out. It's a valuable service, and you're doing a great job at it. And I just want to offer your guests just a free, it's called the 5 Keys to Time Freedom, help you free up some of that time in your day to kind of get clear on those things that you need to do. And it's simply the website, joeperrone.biz/5
joeperrone.biz. Yeah, joeperrone.biz/5 keys, and go there and use those keys so that way you can get your time back, get your life back, get your sanity back. And that's the most excellent place to go, right, Joe?
That's it, Robert. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so thank you, sir. joeperrone.biz/5 ways, and we will see you there.